What up, YouTube? I'm gonna be telling y'all about the night or the day that my grandma had a heart attack, her second heart attack. She had a massive heart attack and she died after 8 days on life support. So God blessed me, like He let me spend like 2 weeks with her, like before that happened, cause like it wasn't no heat in my apartment. So I went to go. I used to live with my grandma anyway. Like she raised me and shit. You feel me? So this the apartment I used to live in with her anyway. So the apartment I'm in now, it didn't have no heat in it. This back in 2021 in the wintertime. So I stayed over her and it was warm as hell in her apartment. She let me stay over there for 2 weeks. You feel me? I stayed over there for like 2 weeks. Then I came back because my heat started working, but it was still a little cold in here. So like the night I was with her, like the night before she passed, and I told her, can she take me to go get a heater from Family Dollar? You feel me? And she took me and shit. And you feel me? I remember when we was pulling out of Family Dollar driveway, we stopped for like 5 minutes in the car and just sat there. It was just crazy. I don't know why she sat there for like 5 minutes in the parking lot, but we did. And it was the last time I was with her, like, cause she died the next day. Like, she had took me to get a heater and shit, and she begged me not to put it on my bed cause she didn't want it to catch on fire and shit, cause she know our heaters be catching on fire and shit. And shit, the next day I ain't hear from her all day, and it was like 3 o'clock. It was like 3 o'clock, and my mama, you feel me? She was panicking. She ain't even call me. She just came to my apartment, and she ain't even knock on my door. She had like the manager, one of the managers here come tell me, cause she was panicking. She was freaking out to her. She ain't even, you feel me? And her eyes was like real buck when I saw her and shit. And she told me my grandma had a heart attack. Her second heart attack. She already had a heart attack like in 2011. This was her second heart attack. This was in November 2021. Like November 21st, she had caught the heart attack. And yup, she had a heart attack and shit. A massive one this time. And how it happened, cause my uncle and my auntie was arguing in front of her, and she already had troubles breathing and shit. And my auntie and uncle was arguing in front of her, cause about some money. Cause my uncle had owed my auntie some money, cause he had bust her teeth out and knocked her out and shit when she was going up at his house, like around the time COVID hit, cause he had a harder time breathing, and she was trying to take him like a ventilator, something to help him breathe and shit, and he had got mad and irritated with her, and he punched her teeth out and shit, and then she threw a brick through his window, and she took him to court for that shit, for knocking her teeth out, and she was trying to get $10,000 out of him, or he was gonna have to go to prison. Yeah, yeah, and they was just going through that shit for like 2 years and shit. And my grandma was trying to take her and him, or he was driving his own car, but my auntie was in my grandma's car. She was trying to put them two together so they can settle it, so he can get her the money. And they kept arguing in front of her, and she had a heart attack. And while they was in wherever they was in the store, where the business they was in, she was in the car having a heart attack. And one of a civilian had saw her, and she was telling him like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Then he ran and told my auntie and uncle, and my auntie panicked, and she ran down the street and left. And then my uncle, he called the ambulance and 911, and they came, and she was dead for like 17 minutes before they arrived and shit. And then we had went up. They ain't even I couldn't even go see her for the first couple of days she was in the hospital. It took me and like a lot of people in the family to like 4 days, 5 days to finally go see her. At first, they were just letting my uncle and mama go see her. I couldn't even go see her for like 4, 5 days and shit. That shit was just crazy. I was just praying for her, hoping she'd survive. And my whole family like was fighting and arguing in the parking lot and shit. Like when the first night it happened and shit. Like everybody just got into it. My whole family got into it down there in the parking lot. The first night that shit happened, we was all in the parking lot for like hours. A lot of people was drunk, all that shit. They was trying to kick us out the parking lot. We was at what? I forgot what hospital was that on West 6 Mile? What hospital was that? Damn. Sinai Grace on West 6 Mile by Schaefer. You feel me? We from the east side, but that's where it happened on the west side, so they took her to that hospital and shit. But they kicked us out of. They kicked a lot of my family members out of the parking lot. The hospital security guards, they kicked them out of the hospital and shit. But kind of found out she had a massive heart attack. She had pneumonia too. Shit, my cousin had called me. I said a prayer that last day I was with her in the hospital and shit. I was the last person to see her like in her hospital bed before she died. I was the last person. I forgot about that shit too. I just thought about it too. I was the last person to see her in the hospital bed. Cause she died like a couple hours later. She was on life support. She died. I got the call from my cousin and shit. She said grandma died. It was her grandma too. She was like, grandma died. Like at 3 o'clock in the morning, I got that call. I ain't even want to cry about it. I ain't even want to think about it. I just went back to sleep. I was already halfway asleep when I answered the phone anyway. I ain't even want to think about it. Hell yeah. She was on life support for 8 days from November 21st and died November 29th. She ended up getting buried on 14 Mile and Harper and shit. We had all went out there to her graveyard, her grave site. We watched her get buried and all that shit. We went to her repast, all that shit. I had whole ass family members at the repast. They was trying to bring up my rap shit, that B-roll shit. Wasn't nobody trying to think about that shit or hear about that shit or none of that shit. Nigga, my grandma just passed. Nigga, we are a repast. Get the fuck out my face. That's how I really was feeling. I don't give a fuck about none of that B-roll shit, none of that shit. You feel me? We just left my grandma's funeral and shit. That's why I don't fuck with a lot of them. You feel me? Like, we had our repast. I ain't thinking about none of that. You feel me? Yeah, like, whole ass family members. You feel me? But hell yeah. Rest in peace to my grandma, bro. Her sweet soul, bro. That's why she was the oldest of like 7 kids. That's all she did was just care for her kids and grandkids. She raised me. She helped raise my little cousin too. Like, that's all she cared about. She'll break her neck for all her kids and grandkids and great grandkids and all that shit. You feel me? I'm mad I ain't never had no kids for her to see. Like, I'm mad I ain't never had no kids for her. You feel me? That's fucked up. Like, my kids ain't never gonna see her. Like, that shit kind of irritate me a little bit. But hell yeah. This shit is crazy. Actually, I'm gonna show her obituary too. I'm gonna show her obituary. You feel me? Sweetest lady in the world. And the crazy thing about it is my uncle died like 7 months later after she died, cause he already had MS and he be having seizures and shit. And he started drinking heavy more than ever after she died, and he already wasn't taking his medicine and shit. He died 7 months after her. Rest in peace to him too. Like, I just want to share that story about my grandma. Rest in peace. Her name was Bernice. My name Bernard. I'm about to get her name tatted. You feel me? Rest in peace, my grandma. Long live my grandma. But I just want to share that story. And rest in peace, my uncle too.